It's more important than what the introduction is all about. Well, I was made to know that only 6 or 7 of you are from commerce and management stream. The rest all are from other streams, science, law, and I don't know, the composition. I'm really happy to interact with those participants who are not commerce and management, because they are going to be my audience today. Because commerce and management anyway, we get opportunity to interact on various other academic platforms. But for the science student, the science teachers, then economics, the other social science people, and pure science, I'll be really glad to interact with them. I have made my presentation in such a way that I would like to put certain things in a manner that is going to be little interesting even for non-commerce teachers out there. Only because interdisciplinary dimensions to teaching and research, I'm taking them synonymously, because I feel that they are the two faces of the same coin. To see a particular research problem or a teaching issue from a interdisciplinary, I'm not using the word multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, because I'm just putting that into only in the context of social science. We also integrate humanities, you also integrate science also into our domain. See, I'm from management science department, and by the nature, by its very existence, we are multidisciplinary in nature. So that gives me so much of ಸರಿ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ
ಸರ್ ವಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ
ನಾನು ಅವರ
PPT ಸರ್
ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ
No, are you able to see the first slide of mine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Visible, sir.
Some technical glitch here. 1 second. We'll sort it out. Now, will you be able to see the second slide?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Now visible?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Second slide. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, no? Okay, now there are certain interruptions. Anyway, now this has actually caught my attention as a teacher at the undergraduate level for a longer period of my time, say 13 years, and then moving on to PG teaching. When I encountered a difference in the way that you have to approach teaching at the PG level, where at the undergraduate level, you are so much of student focus, and from there on coming back and focusing on the theory and the concepts, the knowledge focus at the PG level. When there was such a shift in my own career, way back in 2007, I was caught off guard. In fact, I was a bit going through a phase called as mid-career crisis. From chalk and talk to click and talk, and post-COVID, we are into act and talk. The camera is in front of us, and we should know how are we being visible on the other side, or the voice modulations and all that. They literally made us actors in front of the camera. I don't know whether you also had the similar kind of an experience. Now, all along, this entire journey of 30 years, I've got some inputs, some experience as a teacher, which I would like to put before you through a topic called as interdisciplinary dimensions to teaching and research in social sciences. Let me move on. What is interdisciplinary? Why interdisciplinary in social science? And I would like to take up a real case issue, which is basically commerce and management related issue. But I would like to take into account how the related disciplines like economics, commerce, management, and law, how these 4 different social sciences disciplines integrate itself into one problem that is plaguing corporate world, which is a management related issue. How, when you look at this problem from a multidisciplinary angle, how you'll be able to understand it better. You get a holistic view and your understanding of the subject will be even more clearer. I would like to take up that as a part of my presentation today. Now, what is interdisciplinary research? It's a mode of teaching or research where individuals integrate information, data, techniques, tools, perspectives, concepts from across two or more disciplines to advance our fundamental understanding and solve problems whose solutions are beyond the scope of a single discipline or an area of research practice. And it is based on a conceptual model that links or integrates theoretical frameworks from those disciplines, uses the design and methodology that's not limited to any one field, and requires use of different perspectives and skills involved in those disciplines, and harness such values in order to understand the subject that you are now studying even more deeper. And interdisciplinary has certain characteristics. These are the conceptual background that I'm giving you. The approach draws from two or more disciplines. As a part of the integrative process, these are integrated and mixed in such a way that it produces something new and useful, and the resulting product and its value addition could not have been possible had you stick down to only one discipline. And this integration requires union of different assumptions, causal mechanisms, and level of analysis to form a new whole. When you mix different colors, you come out with something which is completely new, which I've never imagined that happens in the paint industry. Now, why it is so pertinent in social science? Now there is a wealth of informative literature. As you know, some of you might be pursuing research, or some of you might be already PhD holders. You can see that now we are going through an era of information explosion, and the academic pressures of globalization make the interest in interdisciplinary research an urgent one. Because as we have gone into a digital revolution, say digital revolution and its extensions were already in place before COVID-19 came. And the only thing is that COVID-19 made the speed even multifold. Otherwise, we were actually going through an industrial revolution 4.0, where that digital revolution made us to, take the use of information which was coming from all over, in order to see how that can be integrated into the discipline and today, to do, say, for example, a literature review is far more easier than it used to be 20 years hence, just because you have all the data in the digital form. So you have an access to all the Scopus, all ABDC journals, all Google Scholar journals in a flash of a second. And that is the reason why there is a huge information in social science. And this social science information has to be put into place in order to see that whether that integration of different disciplines will make our understanding of a particular issue even more clear, is what I'm trying to drive home. And it becomes innovative, it integrates different disciplines, and it has a big role in improving the performance, the research performance as such. When we are there in silos, if you look at certain issues in silos, you will get only one perspective view. But when you integrate with many disciplines coming out of the watertight compartments of those disciplines, you also get some winning conditions to innovate. So with this a small briefing before I move on with the crux of my presentation, I'm now trying to kind of put together 4 disciplines into one research problem or one a concept that needs to be taught in a classroom. You take it whatever the way that you could. It could be for research, it could be for teaching also. Now I would like to say that as a management faculty myself, we have drawn heavily from economics. Economics is our mother. Unless it's a mother discipline. Especially when I teach finance now. For finance, unless you know economics, you just cannot be a teacher in corporate finance or even any stock market related finance also. And then commerce and management are like related disciplines. Then as an extension, we also have the legal part of it. Now all these problems or research problems or teaching issues, when you are looking it from a different compartment like law perspective, it adds a different value. I would like to take up an issue of management, an issue of corporation, a corporate, from these four angles and try to integrate and let me see how we will be able to understand, because most of you are non-commerce and non-management teachers over here. As I said in the very beginning, you're my audience. You're my audience. I would like to put it as simple terms as possible and easy to understand language. Try to see and try to understand it as a story. Basically, all teachers are storytellers, as you know, because you have to make the things interesting. Let me see. I'll try my best. Okay. Here I go. These are some of the headlines that we see in business papers. Lot of corporate scams have happened, leading to low trust environment. HDIL, this is a fraud that is associated with Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, and the worth of that fraud was 6,500 crores. Then Bhushan Steel, I'm just getting you through the headlines. Just see how much crores have been siphoned off by the promoters of this particular company, and eventually it has to be taken over by Tata Steel in order to reconstruct it differently. 2,000 crores. Then 35,200 crore was the settlement amount for the Tata Steel to take over Bhushan Steel. And Nirav Modi, as you people know, you might have seen that even though you are not commerce and management, you will be knowing as a general part of what is happening in the business economy. 13,800 crores was the amount that he has frauded the stakeholders around his ecosystem. Then he was not only the person who was responsible for it, he collided with Punjab National Bank officials, and there is a charge sheet against him, and still he is at large. He is out of the country now. He is a fugitive offender, and he has to be brought back to the country using the due course of law. Next is these are the headlines that I am talking about. Mehul Choksi, 3,258 crores. Then Religare, 750 crore. You just go on seeing. This is the mother of all scandals, the giant of all scandals, which happened in the early 21st century during 2000 and 2001, when at that point in time, the internet services, they were just, making its mark into the business arena. Then this is called as India's Enron, which is both the frauds have got certain similarities, and it was being touted as accounting scandal. In fact, because they manipulated the accounts, they manipulated at that point in time. I still remember the copywriters had a very good time showing all their creative writing, like 1 + 1 = 11, Satyam equation. I remember that headline. Or else all that is there about Satyam is Asatyam was another title. Then Volkswagen, as you can see in the slide, how much of environmentally disaster that their affluents are doing. And again, this is again another scandal which has still been remembered as something, they've built this entire empire, this Volkswagen, this company is a automobile giant, which is there in Germany, and they built their goodwill over a period of 150 years of goodwill and reputation of being technically sound company, and all that has been done in 150 years fell flat within a matter of 15 to 20 days because of this scandal. And I could also remember some of the headlines saying, from Hall of Fame to Hall of Shame. Now, no corporate scandal issue or a ethics issue in business will be complete without the mention of this fellow who is actually known for different reasons. There are, whenever I take up this example for discussion in academic circles, I found that still a part of the audience is still mesmerized by his charisma. Even though whatever that he has done, as you can see that he has to repay 13,900 crores to the banks, and he has left the country. He fled the country. It's not left the country. He fled the country, and still is at large along with Nirav Modi. And Ranbaxy is another big headlines those days where it actually manipulated the substance, the chemicals that is used in order to serve the poor, AIDS savaged South African countries. Even in a good cause, they were using substandard chemicals. Was one of the scandals of Ranbaxy. Then Yes Bank, they diverted 3,700 crores. You just see the numbers. Cox and Kings, 20,000 crores. Ambani's, when one Ambani is, the elder Ambani is doing really good, but the younger Ambani is really finding it very difficult to stitch together the different diversified businesses that he has, and he is under loss. You can see that his falling fortunes. Then even Mukesh Ambani is fined. Very recently, Byju's is under scanner because they have not been able to utilize the amount that they have been able to collect. They are into different unwanted diversifications in their investments. And a big issue with respect to Heidenberg report on Adani's businesses. There were certain ethical questions that were raised, and this is a never-ending story. The story is never-ending. So therefore, in corporate parlance, we say moral hazard is on the rise. I'm just giving you the summation. Lemons are all over the place, and I'm taking this very specifically from Nobel Prize winning theories. These are the expressions that I found there. Moral hazard. Lemons are all over the place. Dysfunctional behavior. I'm taking it from 2017. Oliver Hart, who got a Nobel Prize for economics for his paper called as Contract Theory. There he talks about dysfunctional behavior, because people tend to behave in such a way or attribute all their energies in such activities which is going to give them short-term benefits. They talk, in fact, he talks about teachers also here. He says, how is a teacher evaluated? The teacher is evaluated on the basis of the grades that the students take, and therefore all his efforts would be to make students get more grades than the basic job for which he's been appointed, to create value to the students in the classroom and make them good citizens. So all his efforts, see, I've seen many teachers at this level, I mean, I'm talking about at the post-graduation level, you tell them, yes, these are the academic performance indicators. These are these many papers, research papers that you have to publish within this time in order to get a promotion. And therefore you see to that you attend these many. But when I see what exactly is happening around me, I don't know whether it is the same case from the other side. You should tell me when I stop this presentation and I go for interaction, that the teachers are so much concerned about duties other than teaching. In the disguise of doing research, and some people say, I wanted 300 academic points, I got 3,000 academic points. I wanted to, I was supposed to publish 5 articles in order to get the next promotion, but I have published 50 articles. This he calls it as dysfunctional behavior. I'm talking about it from the context of corporate here, but all Nobel Prize winning award, as you know, they've got universal application. It can be applied to anybody, to our personal life also. I'm just, taking an example of our professional life. And when the time gets bad, when the times gets tough, and especially it happened during COVID, was a time where businesses were really at a high risk zone. Is it the time that the lemons, and who are lemons? Lemons are those who suffer from a disease called as moral hazard, and they resort to dysfunctional behavior. All are interconnected, and I've taken it from different economic theories. I'll come to that. Now, whether this time, during troubled times, whether it is a breeding ground for people like this, or whether these disturbed times will pick the best, means will it weed out the lemons? These are some of the questions that I'm posing is on the basis of my own interaction in classes like this, where I get to know the teacher's mind and the teachers have something to tell me back. And I love this interaction only because this is a part of your, academic progress. I know that I've also gone through similar kind of courses, but at my time it used to be only offline. But when we were going through these phases of OP or refresher course or whatever, normally there is a problem with the teachers. I'm being open about it because I consider you as fellow teachers. I don't consider you as people or the participants. I'm here as a resource person. Please take that away. I'm here as a fellow teacher, senior teacher, by virtue of my experience. I come to know that teachers are always judgmental. They used to sit in the class only to judge the teachers. But I would like to tell you, when you sit in these kinds of classes, apart from the judge's role that you do, you will definitely have something or the other, good, bad or ugly. You may get a chance where you don't feel like listening to any of the lecture, and it's quite boring. But at least you will try to get to know how not to be like this teacher. There is some learning. If you sit with that mentality, you will definitely get something out of the teacher, something or the other. I still remember one mathematics teacher teaching all the commerce and management teachers in Hyderabad Academic Staff College. Infinity. He taught infinity for 1.5 hours. Set theory. He was teaching set theory. Set theory and our commerce and management domain is completely opposite to each other. But the way he presented his mathematical formula, though we are all commerce teachers, we ran away from mathematics. If we were able to understand mathematics, we would have been there in some other field. Since we could not comprehend that, we came to commerce easy, commerce and management. easier than mathematics and science. He made us to sit through the class without blinking our eyes. Simply, he was explaining only infinity right through the class. Such articulation, such usage of the platform, usage of board, I have never come across. So there is something to learn, even if it is not directly connected to our domain, is what I would like to tell you. We shall have that, have that. Okay, now let me come back to this. Moral hazard is on the rise, as I said. Lemons are all over the place. People are into dysfunctional behavior. Who actually thought about that the business would be filled with these kinds of people? It was none other than Adam Smith in 1776, 250 years back. Not for nothing he is called as father of economics. He wrote Wealth of Nations. In Wealth of Nations, he makes this comment. He says, when you are doing business in a corporation form of business, corporation form, the companies, he says, the directors of such companies, directors means the managers, the people who manage the show, people who take decisions in the companies. Now, these managing directors or the board of directors or the managers are not the owners. Who are the owners? Owners are the shareholders. Where are these shareholders? Shareholders have bought the shares of this company, and by virtue of such an act, they become the owners of that company, but they don't manage. Who manages the show? The management of the company rests with the board of directors and in companies, just for the sake of other teachers, I'm telling you, the corporation, and we're talking about Infosys, if I say, Amazon, Tata Consultancy Service. If I, project these companies' names, one thing that should come to your mind is these are called as large corporations. What is their structure? Structure is very simple. Money comes from one angle. Labor comes from capital and labor. We call them as two factors of production. Capital comes from one angle. Brains, expertise comes from another angle. They integrate together. And there's a formal organization structure called as corporation. Unlike in other business organizations, where the owner himself will be managing the show. The partners themselves will be managing the show. But in corporation, it is not so. Money comes from one angle. Expertise, labor comes from another angle. Capital and labor. I would call it a Lakshmi comes from one angle. Saraswati comes from another angle. They're integrated together. And now, is that a good form of business organization? Yes. Why? Because people who have money do not have the brains. People who have the brains do not have the money. Try to bring both together. You get large chunk of money through shareholdings, share capital, and the providers of the share capital are called as the owners, shareholders. They are completely detached from the management of the business because management rests with people who are elected by the shareholders as board of directors. The board of directors in turn will appoint managers purely on the basis of their experience, their expertise, their ability to take decisions. And you'll be knowing that the CEOs, the MDs, the top-notch management officials of a business, the compensation that they get in lakhs and crores. They get chartered flights. Why is such huge amount of money being invested on there? Because they have that experience. Saraswati, as I said, you're paying it for Saraswati, and these people will take decisions in such a way that creates value to the shareholders. There is a mandate given. What is the mandate? Say, I am hiring you as my agent, as my representative. You use all your expertise. We will give you whatever that you want. Your job is to take decisions, use your brains, take decisions in such a way that my economic welfare should be enhanced. Means the shares that I hold should continuously raise, the value of the share should continuously raise so that wealth is created to me. This is the arrangement of a corporation, of a company. But Adam Smith had an apprehension 250 years ago. What is that apprehension? See, these managers are riding on somebody else's money, not their own money. Shareholders have provided that money. These people are sitting on others' money. Now, the $1 million question is whether these people sitting on somebody else's money will be cautious, prudent enough to see that that money is put into good use. Or else, will these people become negligent? Will these people, when you are sitting on somebody else's money, will they abuse that position? It's not just misusing the position, misusing the money. Whether they will abuse that position. That is what he said. It cannot be expected that they should watch it with the same anxious vigilance with which owners watch their own money. When they sit on their own money, if it is my business, my money being invested, so obviously you are very cautious. But when you are sitting on somebody else's money, that is what happens in a corporation. Will you be indulging in yourself in taking such decisions which enhances value to the shareholders, or will you be taking self-serving decisions? Such decisions which adds value to you personally, not to the shareholders. Can there be a chance like this? There was an apprehension with Adam Smith. And as you go down, I'm just looking into these economic theories today. I'm trying to come out with theory first and then applying to the corporate examples. And I would like to see the judicial trends at the end. I'm taking up these theories. These are all well time-tested theories. Some of them Nobel laureates. Why they've been able to come out with certain observations. After 1776, I said 1970, 200 years later, Jensen and Meckling came out with a theory called as agency theory. In that agency theory, they clearly tell you in a company, when you have two different positions, owners and managers, owners are shareholders, they are not managing the show. They have just invested in the shares. They are somewhere else. They are spread across the globe. They have got nothing to do with the management of the company, but they have entrusted that responsibility to those people whom they have appointed as managers on the basis of their skills and experience. Therefore, will they be taking into account the interests of the shareholders, or will they be resorting themselves to self-serving behavior? But the question which is raised in agency theory, I'll come to contract theory. As I said, it is called as dysfunctional theory. Then information asymmetry theory, it is called as market for lemons theory. It's a very interesting theory. Then Modigliani and Miller, again, they got Nobel Prize for capital structure and traditional trade-off theory. I'll just give you a layman's version of all these theories, not the technical version, taking into account the kind of heterogeneity that exists in this particular group that I'm addressing today. Now, agency theory very clearly says management, always, the managers who are appointed should always work in the interest of the owners. They should take decisions in order to maximize the market value of the equity shares. That is a dictum that is given to them. That is the order that is given to them. They should always do that. Their job is to use all their experience, expertise to take such decisions that enhances the wealth of the shareholders. This is a contract. This is a contract between shareholders, the owners, and the managers. But the million-dollar question is, will they do so? Whether the management adheres to this dictum or will they engage in self-serving, value-reducing behavior? Will they take such decisions in which the value of the shareholders will be eroded? Actually, they are supposed to create value. The opposite of that is value erosion. Is it possible? Then the question is, yes, self-serving behavior, we have seen many examples of self-serving behavior, and this behavior is costly to the organization, and it goes to the extent of organization collapsing, liquidating, becoming bankrupt. Actually, this is a very good system. Say in a company, the trade-off, there are two trade-offs that you are talking about. One is you are expending so much on the compensation of the managers. So I am not using the language which is there in the slide. I am using my own language in the larger interest of the audience here. Say on the one hand, you are on the salary compensation on these managers who take decisions. Now what is their job? Their job is to take such decisions so that the value, shareholders value, the shares that you hold, those values should enhance in the share market. That is a dictum that is given to them. Most of the time it works really well. In all the successful companies that we have seen, this agency theory works well. You pay them costs, you pay them so much, and in turn, there is a value addition. So therefore, benefits exceed costs. Benefits in terms of value addition to the share price will be more than the amount that is given, the compensation that is given to the managers. The empirical evidence of public firm, I'm talking about public limited firm because entire context that I'm talking about is in the public money, wherever public money is involved. Now, when a manager takes self-serving actions, which leads to disaster, that is why companies have been able to close down. What exactly that they do? What do they do? What are the examples? This is given in agency theory. Theories have been found on the basis of the results of the research that is conducted in the practical count. Now, what are these self-serving actions? Since they are managers themselves, they are the board of directors themselves, they will award more compensation for themselves because they are the people who propose any proposal and then give the sanction. They accord themselves higher salaries, higher compensation, higher perks. That is one way of abusing the position, abusing the dominant position that they have. Second is manipulating earnings and dividends. This has happened in most of the accounting scams that have happened. If the earnings are say 3% or 4%, they will show it as 24%. They manipulate, they window dress the accounting information and show the company in a better light than what exactly they are. Now, who should ensure checks and balances? The statutory auditors should ensure checks and balances. In most of the cases of fraud we have seen, even the statutory auditors are a part of the crime. So therefore, they've been able to paint their balance sheet red and show that yes, this is really doing well until and unless something really goes wrong and things go beyond manipulation, and they'll be caught at a later stage. Then maximizing size of the firm rather than its value. You can just see empire building. There are certain, especially this happens in India, conglomerates, wherein people would like to go for an unrelated diversification. Now, this is very clear case is about Vijay Mallya. Very clear case is about Anil Ambani. They were doing really well in their main businesses, the core business operations. But when greed, took over, as Mahatma Gandhi says, God is given for everybody's need, not for everybody's greed. These are some of the conglomerates who become really greedy. They want to have everything under the sun. They want to maximize the size of the firm rather than the value of the shareholders. And in the process, if one business is unsuccessful, they're not going to take it that way because they're egoistic also. So therefore, they did not digest the fact that it was a failure, and they pumped good money to chase bad money. In all the cases of Malia and Ambani, you can see good money chasing the bad money because they are not ready to accept, because failure seems to have gone to their heads. You can just see this. These are all the outcomes of that agency theory. Sometimes failure goes to their heads. Then siphoning off of corporate assets means what? You create a shell firm from the focal firm. You are the managing director. This has happened in all the fund diversion case of Yes Bank. It has happened in what is that? Ramalinga Raju's case, where he took money from the major business and created a firm in the name of their friends, relatives, wife, children, and transferred the money from the main business. This is called as siphoning off of corporate assets. Then excessive diversification, spelling mistake. It happened with this good spelling and ended with spelling mistake, because unnecessarily you are expanding the show, and the good business that you are making, the good image that you have created, went into it worsened further. And then you are trying to invest in such investments which is going to give you short-term benefits, because you have to show the margins. Dysfunctional behavior, because near-term payoffs. You're not looking at the larger story, the long-term issues. So therefore, you want to show the numbers this time. What will happen next year doesn't matter. Let me show the numbers. Let me show the margins. Thus, that kind of an attitude is again called a self-serving attitude. And when all this is happening, the entire board is packed. This is very important. This is more important. Means it is not done by a single individual. Whenever such frauds happen, there is a syndicate of lemons. It will not be with only one lemon. All of them have these greedy intentions. All the board members have the similar kind of an attitude, and all of them come to all these jacks come together and they pack the board. There is not even a single person who is going to oppose it. If somebody opposes it, he'll also be taken care of through dubious means. So it's a syndicate of lemons. It's a team of lemons. Then contract theory. I said about dysfunctional behavior. Why this happens? It's a continuation of agency theory. Why this happens, tell me? It is because shareholders are, where are these shareholders? A company can have thousands and 10,000s of shareholders, 50,000 shareholders. But where are they? They are spread across the globe. Now, someone sitting here in the classroom, maybe holding shares of some company. Where are you now? Where you're sitting in this class? You just bought the shares and you invested your money in that company. And who is looking after? The managers are looking after. So, the entire shareholders are widespread. They are often strangers to each other. Therefore, they cannot directly observe the behavior of the managers. Managers are given complete autonomy, but they at times misuse, the ethics part come into picture when you do, what do you speak, what do you say, are in harmony, no? But somebody is not observing you, what you do, reflects your integrity. But when your integrity is in question, you are a lemon, you suffer from moral hazard. Obviously, you know that nobody is watching. Therefore, let me only show them the numbers, verifiable performance measures. What is a verifiable performance measure? Profits, sales, lesser cost, margins, market share, market value of the share. These are quantifiable performance measures. If you are able to show them, at least be able to capture them, capture the numbers. See, this is called as data manipulation. It's been done very squarely in India these days on different fronts, on economic, political front. It's rampant to manipulate the numbers. Now we call it as lies, true lies and statistics. You give the statistics. Very recently there was a discussion as to whether India has become, outclassed Japan as the third largest economy in the world. And Niti Ayog people will be said something. Then IMF was saying something. Now this kind of, I'm talking about the numbers which can be manipulated, especially in companies. There is nobody to verify. At least in public domain, there are people to verify. In companies, statutory, there is an ecosystem. There are checks and balances. I'm not saying that there are no checks and balances, but they're able to capture that process and show a good performance and put all their activities into, as I said, this was given to even for the teachers. Teachers will be doing everything excellent. When I go for any interview, I see teachers coming for the interview. They have 2 suitcases. Not money, don't mistake me. Suitcases of all their publications, books, which is weighing more than their own weight. 2-3 bags they come. They have so much of academic grade points. Then we ask them, take a topic of your choice and deliver for 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. There they fail. I've seen many teachers failing there with so much of points, so much of. This is called as dysfunctional behavior. You are showing all your interest to amass points to get a job or to get into a higher designation, but what is the basic job of creating value to the student? Or as a teacher, what are you doing? How are you being accepted by your student? That part is completely, that is called as dysfunctional behavior. Now that breed of teachers is now emerging, people say. You have to rebut it, you're all young teachers. And I want to tell you that teaching is the noblest of the professions that you can ever get into. And I'm sure people who do it with passion and energy will enjoy. I've done throughout my life, and even today, let me tell you very, very frankly, with all the introduction that is given by my colleague about me, the research that has happened in my life is in the classrooms only, not in my PhD, not in the PhDs of my students. When I go to the class, when I speak something, students ask certain questions. Their inquisitiveness actually made me a better teacher than better teacher and a better researcher. And let me tell you, a good teacher is always a good researcher. But a good researcher need not be a good teacher. I am making this on the basis of my experience. He may be a good teacher. I'm not saying he cannot be a good research, maybe, but a good teacher is always a good researcher. And if there are anybody in this audience who would say that research is have certain apprehension, I don't know whether I am fit enough to be a researcher, whether I'll be able to do research, and that kind of an attitude, let me tell you, one thing that you pass, if you are passionate about teaching, let me tell you, you're a good researcher. You already have a PhD. Only thing is that you have to get it officially. Now, the last theory that I want to take before I take a break. I'm supposed to take a break at 3:15, if I'm right. Now, information asymmetry theory. And this is a good theory that I love and enjoying teaching this particular part. It is Akerlof's 1970 paper in economics, wherein I will not go through the slides as such. I'll give you as a story. He talks about a second-hand car dealer market, automobile market, second-hand cars. Now, if you go to a second-hand car showroom, you will definitely know that all the cars of different sizes, makes, color, they're all pooled under one roof. All make, all colors, all companies. Now, under that pool, the quality of the cars range from excellent quality to lemons. This is where he uses the word lemons. Now, a buyer comes to buy. He does not know whether this is an excellent car or a lemon. Who knows? Only the sellers know. Now, the sellers are not truthful about the quality. Even a person who has a lemon, an inferiority quality car, is temporarily putting his car in such a condition that a buyer will be attracted to see that lemon only. As you know, all bad things come in good colors, no? You don't know whether how it is being maintained, who is the owner of that car, whether it is serviced properly, whether it has met with an accident or not. All those information is not there. Whereas an excellent car and a lemon are both under one roof and they get same price because the sellers are not truthful. There is information asymmetry. Who has the information? Seller has the information. Buyer does not have the information. He will just see, and on the basis of that, he is mimicking a good car. Means the bad car is temporarily put in such a good condition that bad car looks better, prima facie. Therefore, what the market will pull them together, and temporarily there will be a price given called as equilibrium price. Same price for even good cars, same price for even lemons. Now, who will be disappointed with this? The sellers of good quality cars, because they know that their car is good and they know that this is a lemon. Now, both of us are getting the same value. So why should I be a part of the system? I'm not happy with the price. They will leave the market, they exit the market. And the process of exit is called as giving credible signals. You are giving credible signals, by walking out. What is the signal that you are going to give? You are giving it to the market that I am not happy with the equilibrium price. I expected a better price. Since I am getting the same price as a lemon, let me come out of the market. I'm not happy. So like that, all the good quality cars owners will exit from the market until and unless only lemons remain, and they will be caught. Market collapses. This is theory. Simple theory. I'll just give you 3-4 keywords. Information asymmetry. Information asymmetry means sellers have information, buyers don't have. Then lemons and excellent. Good quality cars, inferiority quality cars. And these lemons temporarily put their cars in good condition. They mimic a good car, and the buyer will not be able to distinguish what is good, what is bad, and what is ugly. So all the cars command the same price, which is not, it doesn't go well with the sellers of good cars. Now the sellers of the good cars come out of the market. And in doing so, they give credible signals. They give credible signals to the market. And finally, good prevails over the evil. Evil will be caught. It's like all our Vedas and Upanishads. Good always prevails. Is the moral of this story, of this particular paper, information asymmetry paper, market for lemons. I tell this to my own students also. So all of you are graduated from University of Mysore. All are MBA students. All of you have got 7 points CGPA. You're all bracketed under one pool. But there are some excellent ones there. There are lemons. People with knowledge that pursue their course rigorously and have the required skills, they have to give credible signals in the employment market. They will give. Lemons will be weeded out. It so happens in our community, teaching fraternity also. You will see everybody around you, all of you are all of you are associate professors. You feel that yes, I have been taking the classes so regularly that fellow is not doing so. But still he is also getting the same cell, I am also getting all these little nitty-gritties are always there with the faculty members. There are teachers who are very, very good. There are teachers who suffer from moral hazard. You'll find them all. But what the final verdict of this particular paper is that it is the responsibility of the good to give credible signals so that the lemons are caught. So this is how it goes. Then how do you mitigate information asymmetry? You have to give credible signals. I'm not getting into the details of it. It's very technical and it's written in the corporate language, which I don't want to put it across. Only thing is that if you are good, if you are really taking your job, your profession very seriously, your job is to always give credible signals, is the crux of the story. Then comes Modigliani and Miller. I am not going to deal much with that. Before I give the break, I'll just apprise you. It's a very good theory which got Nobel Prize in economics. It talked about, let me tell you, in a business, when you go for an unrelated diversification, means you're into one core business that on which you have hold. If you want to take a completely different U-turn and get into businesses on which you don't have any control over, or so far you don't have any experience, he says, Modigliani and Miller's theory says, you have to fund it through equity. Means owner's money. It has to be funded. Any new business on which you don't have any control, you're going for an unrelated diversification. Please use owner's money. Don't use debt. Don't take loans. See, Modigliani, Miller and the traditional trade-off theory is all about how do you mix equity and debt. How much should be owner's money? How much should be loan? Outsider's money. What is the right combination of that? And if you can see all the corporate collapses today, including Malyas, I'll tell you, I'll come to a specific case in the second part. They went for excessive debt. When you had to go for an unrelated diversification as a business unit, it is better you fund it through your own money. Your own money means owner's money. You could have gone for an issue of equity or you could have gone for an IPO. It's a new business, but not for loans. Not for loans, because loans eventually, if something goes wrong, it has the potential to make you drown in a debt trap. So therefore, all these theories have done lots of exhaustive research and came out with their propositions. But the problem with the industry or the commerce and the management is whether they believe the theory. You can see in your, there are many people who come to our department. Since I'm in business management department, the many industry people, many corporate people come to us to get some students for their internships and even project reports and even job related queries, they only say that they are conceptually good, but practically it is completely different. Now, what is the difference between practice and theory? The theory and practice, are they, which came first, whether the hen or the egg? The argument is that no, it is so interdependent that the practice, the practical research will eventually be a part of the theory. And theory will be like put before the practitioner saying that this is the research to model and be careful. This is what is happening. This is what I get feelers from whatever the research that I have done. But these people will say it's all bookish. Practically, it is completely different. I will do the way that I want. Then whenever something wrong happens, theory proves right. Adam Smith proves right. Jensen McLean is proving right. When this particularly, let me share this with you. Within management only, within commerce only, there are 6 commerce teachers over here, and I'll be really happy to know their opinion. When such things happen, it is touted as an accounting scandal because they manipulated all the accounting numbers. They manipulated the accounting numbers only after business has run into rough weather. See, the business got collapsed because of what? Because of 2 reasons. Because of agency theory, because of information asymmetry theory. When the business has become, has come into ICU, then they gave oxygen. That oxygen was accounting. It was not an accounting scandal. Satyam was never an accounting scandal. I will never call accounting scandal. It is a violation of economics theories, agency theory and information. It is not accounting. Accounting came late. To call it as an accounting scandal is like the tip of the iceberg. Iceberg is much more bigger.